Senate Bill 35 today was on the floor, and I had an amendment that went with it. But the real issue is wasn't so much of what happened as how we did it. The process. I served on the for 8 years in the House and 4 years now in the Senate. And as I look back on it, we used the wrong process. I mean, we didn't have any hearings. We discussed it in mini bond. I've never seen it in mini bond. I asked several other bond members. They said, no, it had never been done that way. And I just feel like that their constituents never have any input on what we do here in Dover. That if you're going to take and represent the people of our districts, we need to be more in touch with the reality of what people expect of us. And to go do these things and to say it's going to protect minorities, it's definitely not going to protect minorities. That's what the amendment was for, was to help protect our minorities for the simple reason that they're not getting to bid these jobs anyhow. And if it's not a non-union job, tell me what it is. We're not going to have enough union labor to do these jobs to start with, and we're creating an obligation that we're not going to be able to fulfill, and we're going to send it out of state. So we're going to take Delaware taxpayers' money and give it to union laborers of some other state.
So when you look at the mini bond bill in itself, it sounds like a great thing because obviously it's about the capital improvements, projects and so forth. But the problem we are having is a language that's been inserted in there that has union language, project labor agreements, collective bargaining, organized labor. It's a major impediment to our community. We don't belong to unions. And so now basically what they're saying is that, yes, you can bid on any project, and however, you have to enter into some type of collective bargaining agreement, have some type of union labor or contract union labor as part of your deal to actually get that project. And so that's a major problem for us. So we don't think that that is fair language for our community because, like I said, we're not a union community. We don't belong to any union community, and nobody should really be infringing on the rights to the free market. Free market should just stand on its own.
It really does two things. One, it does remove one of which is couched as an option, and one of which is really a mandate to have folks bidding on work that are subject to collective bargaining agreements, which would have the practical effect of excluding those who don't have CBAs in the case of the DelDOT projects, and or causing the exclusion of those who don't have CBAs for the more flexible language that's reflected in the OMB requirement. So the result is that you're, practically speaking, excluding a very large segment of the population from being able to bid, which are namely folks that aren't subject to CBA and not in a union. The other aspect of the amendment that you've proposed, Senator, addresses the issue of a DBE. And a DBE, if you look at the Federal Department of Transportation website, is really about making sure that we are in a position to provide maximum opportunity for minority, disadvantaged, economically, socially disadvantaged businesses. And the definition that's noted in this bill pretty much tracks what the definition is federally, which is that you have to have a business that's 51% owned and operated in order to qualify. And so as it currently stands, and talking about your amendment, you have to understand the context of the bill more broadly, but as it currently stands, there's one project that would be required to be a DBE. Your amendment would adjust the requirements so that it would make it so that all four that are subject to the OMB aspect of this specifically would be subject to the DBE process, which would have the practical outcome based upon the way DBEs work and the way the federal regulations function of increasing the opportunity for diversity and inclusion on these projects. And Senator, I would just point out, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that Article 1, Section 21 of the Delaware Constitution elucidates this situation. That is the oft-celebrated and appropriately celebrated aspect of the Delaware Constitution that mandates that we as the state and that the General Assembly charted the sort of overarching framework for how we address these issues, and that's the oft-lauded and celebrated Equal Rights Amendment, Senator. And that says, among other things, that you're not to engage in an impingement upon someone's rights based upon a series of immutable characteristics. Those characteristics include a person's race, a person's sex. They include the very characteristics that we would like, by virtue of having a DBE program, to ensure do not create a disadvantage and a lack of equity and equality in attempting to compete and approach and win this work. And that's what the DBE program was designed for at the federal level. That's why I believe it's been included at various times in the prior bond bill, and that's exactly the thrust of this amendment, to ensure that that program, which would have that effect of, I believe, complying with the letter and the spirit of the law of our Constitution, to ensure that we're reaching our arms around all of those who would like to participate and be involved, and that they would have the chance to be involved in these projects.